Good afternoon for our last Haiti at Home week conversation today. And both those who are on the call and those who will be following us through the recording. So we're all present together in the present and the future. And I have the honor today to introduce you to a friend of mine, a long-time friend of mine and someone who I admire, Mr. Cantave Jean-Baptiste, who has dedicated his whole life, his whole energy, his whole focus to the development, the betterment of the life and the condition of the Haitian farmers, the peasant, the people who live in areas that are far from the centers of productions, the centers of power, the centers of money, the cities, etc., which he calls the inside country. Because in Haiti, we call that the country outside. But when I say that in Creole, Cantave always corrects me. When I talk about the country outside, he says the inside country. This is the real Haiti. So Cantave has been a leader in community organizing and in community development. He has founded and directed his own organization, Partenariat pour le Développement, Partnership for Development. And he's also a co-founder and associate of Groundswell, the organization who is based in the US and which I believe gathers similar and leaders around the world in the developing countries and in a way to put together resources, knowledge, experiences, and solidarity. So it's my honor to introduce you to Cantave, and Cantave, it's all yours.
Thanks. Thanks, Jaloke, for introducing me to this meeting. My name is Cantave Jean-Baptiste. I am an agronomist, and I've been working with farmer and mostly with farmer organizations for over 40 years. I was born and I grew up in the rural communities in the Central Plateau around Haiti. In a family of 8, I am the third of the family. At that time, in the area, there were no schools. And my parents made the decision to send their children to school. And we had to wait until we could work for hours, kilometers, to reach the closest school. And I remember I went to school when I was 9 years old. But we, in my family, and my father, my parents, were among the very first families to send their children to school. But later, he advocated for a school in the community, and he was in charge to mobilize the families to get the land and to get construction materials and also to build the school. And after the education ministry sent a teacher to open the school, it was in 1963. But after elementary school, I went to Hench, where there was a high school, and then I had to move to Port-au-Prince for the university, and I went to study agronomy. And then after 4 years study, I went back to the communities, and I spent only 2 years with the agriculture ministry, and then 10 years with Caritas, a Catholic church organization. I spent 2 years and a half with the Mennonite Central Committee. And from 95 to 2009, I have been the country representative for World Neighbors, an Oklahoma-based organization. And in 2009, this organization changed the direction, and a lot of professionals having contributed to building and strengthening this organization left. And I was among those people. And we have been from many different countries, and we made this decision to stay connected, and we created Groundswell in order to facilitate the exchange, the communication among people in organizations working in Central America, Latin America, Haiti, and West Africa. And I made this decision to create in Haiti Partenariat pour le Développement Local, which is a Haitian organization working, dedicating our time and energy to promote community organization, farmer organization, and promote local development. This is to situate my work, but in this meeting, I will briefly give you an overview of the situation, of the current situation, but we can go deeper in our reality to try to explain, to understand the reasons why the situation is like it is today. For years, I used to hear and also to read in the papers that Haiti was the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, the poorest country in America. Every time I hear or I read this, I feel affected. Sometimes I feel ashamed. But later, I learned, and I'm still learning about the reasons why we are in this situation. But since the 80s, I initiated a learning process to better understand the reasons why there there's kind of segregation at the global level. There are those rich and developed countries, and there are so many poor and marginalized countries. The reasons why there are hunger, there are misery, there are injustice in most of the countries, and in other countries, it's like their people are enjoying freedom, justice, and also even this kind of riches. But I understand that hunger, misery, injustice could be caused by mostly hunger and misery. Sometimes can be caused by disasters. But essentially, I understand that this is a man-made situation. And there are industries producing hunger. There are industries producing misery. And even in our case, there are industries, factories producing injustice, delinquencies, insecurity. But at a global level, I remember at the beginning of the 80s, I read 2 books written by a woman American, Susan George. One of the books is Comment meurt l'autre moitié du monde? Can you translate it for me? Comment meurt l'autre moitié du monde?
How the other half of the world is dying.
Okay. And the other book is Stratège de la faim. Stratège, comme quoi il y a des stratèges qui produisent la faim. Donc, stratège de la faim.
Strategists of hunger. So people who are strategists in producing hunger.
Okay. Yes. And then and many other books to really understand why we with their technologies to produce food to feed the humanity, but this production is not fairly used to feed our population. There is hunger in most of the countries around the world. And food became kind of weapon. Okay, this is at the global level, but when considering our situation in Haiti, there are many reasons contributing to producing hunger in Haiti. And in our case also, there were strategies of hunger, and there are still strategies of hunger. Yes, and then do they act because they are really so bad people? Do they act because they do not understand the consequences of their action? But anyway, hunger in Haiti is progressively produced by our decision makers. When I was a child in rural area, I didn't know hunger. We lived, we had access to food. Maybe we didn't have a very kind of equilibrated diet, but we didn't know hunger. My family produced enough to feed the family. And it was the case for many other families in the area. And at that time, the population was not as it is today. A lot of change over those 40, 50 years. But our government didn't make appropriate decision to assist, to educate our farmers, to assist them technically and financially, and to also develop long-term production plan. Our leaders, their main motivation was to stay in the power. And we have this example with the Duvalier, who stayed for over 30 years. And even after, different sectors have been fighting to control the power, but not to feed the population, not to develop the country, but to stay in power and benefit from the privilege. And corruption is a key strategy today for those people to stay into power. But beginning by the Duvalier, end of the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, until the 80s, beginning of the 80s, there were plans for the regime to stay in place. And then there were decisions affecting our production. Political decisions. For example, to fight against the opponents. And there is a word, Kamoukin, and then they name the opponents Kamoukin, those who took weapons to fight against the Duvalier regime. And the Duvalier regime made the decision to destroy the forest along Dominican Republic border in order to destroy the pour détruire les cachettes des Kamouké.
To destroy the hiding places.
Okay.
Of the people who would come from the Dominican Republic into Haiti to fight against.
Okay. And then this deeply affected our environment. And until today, when crossing the border, you can easily see the difference between Haiti and Dominican Republic. A lot of trees in Dominican Republic, no trees on the Haiti part. And then here is a political decision with huge consequences, huge impact, even on my generation. At the beginning of the 80s, the Haitian pigs have been affected by a disease coming from Dominican Republic, the African swine fever, and the American government, the Canadian government, the Mexican government asked the Haitian government to eradicate the pigs. The Haitian government agreed, and they made the decision to eliminate, to eradicate, to destroy all the pigs in Haiti. I remember I was part of a social professional group de recherche pour le développement. We have been against this decision. And we developed a plan to save some pigs not infected on the La Tortue Island, because this disease did not affect the Northwest Department. And then it was really easy to isolate those pigs in La Tortue. What we did, but one night, using the Totomakut at that time, and in one night, and they destroyed the farm we have been creating in La Tortue. And then this situation contribute to make Haitian farmer poorer than before, because it was the kind of saving bank for the Haitian farmers, the pigs. But even before that, the Central Plateau was well known for the cattle. There was a lot of cows. But the same Duvalier regime took a legislation to stop the free grazing cattle. And then there were families with about 100 cows, but we had the land, and then the farmers, they fenced their farms, and the animals could go dans les savanes. And then this decision also consistently reduce the number of cows one family could grow. Duvalier stepped down in 86. In 87, by 87, the military government massively imported rice. I have to underline that before that time, rice was kind of elite food. And in the Central Plateau where I grew up, I had access to this meal maybe 3-4 times a year because it was expensive in comparison with the other food like sorghum, corn, sweet potato, cassava, things like that. And then this government imported a lot of rice that came even cheaper than locally produced food like corn and sorghum. And this contribute to decreasing local production. People were no more interested in producing corn and sorghum because they could access rice, very cheap rice. I remember in 88, I made this reflection with a group of farmers in the Artibonite. And I taught them that by consuming the imported rice and mostly by replacing the corn and the sorghum by the imported rice, they have been destroying themselves. And today this is the case. And those kind of decisions continued in this century. I remember when René Préval was president, he has been advised by the former President Clinton to mostly invest in importing American rice, then investing in producing rice in the Artibonite, in the South. And we agreed. And then this was one of the last key decisions affecting our production. And now, there are new situations. A lot of decisions led Haitian people to destroy our own environment. And now we have almost no more trees. Our lands are degraded. our rainy seasons are shorter than before, alternating heavy rains and long period of drought. And it is currently really challenging to produce enough to feed ourselves. It is said that Haiti is currently importing over 60% of the food we are consuming. I am working, and I believe that we can reverse this situation. I do not think that in 1 year, in 2 years, we can produce enough to feed the population because the population is growing very fast, and we have contributed to damage our environment, and there are a lot more to do to recreate a better condition to produce, to feed our family. But with fair decision and long-term decision to give a priority to our production, we can stop this process and work to progressively reverse it. But this requires political decision. And although the current Haitian president, in his campaign, he promised that his government would invest in agriculture, would improve agriculture, but it is not the case. And then we are currently in a situation in which we depend on our neighbors. They are controlling our food. And when other people are controlling your food, they are also controlling your freedom. Okay, okay, this is to initiate this meeting and to explain some situation, but I don't know if I can continue or whether you have some question about what I said before continuing to embrace new areas.
You can continue, Cantave. This is a good, really excellent. So we will have questions later.
Okay. I mentioned that our life, and this is the case for other countries, our life is shaped by our decision makers. I am not kind of historian, but when we consider our governments from the independence to date, there were very few of them that made decisions that positively impact our life. And the rush to the power, the way people are fighting to access power, and the way in the last few years, Haitian politicians are making money, the way they are becoming so rich in very short period of time. For example, a congressman in 4 years that moved from almost nothing to a rich man. How to explain that? A senator in 6 years. I have been working for about 40 years. I'm still working. And I do not have money, and I will never become a rich man. Although, if I consider what I receive as a salary, sometimes it might even be higher than what a congressman receives, a Haitian congressman receives. But if in 4 years, those people systematically change the situation, but even for the next generation, and then there are things you and me do not understand very well. But in the past, there were some behaviors from those people that have been hidden. But today, openly, most of the politicians, I cannot say all of them, but most of our politicians are using our misery. Most of them are using our hunger to access the power and to stay into power. The election, and especially for the last 20 years, there were no more elections. The elections have been organized in a way that those who manage a lot of money to buy votes, to corrupt people in the electoral machine, and to access power. And once they are in the power, and it's like they have invested in the election, and while in the power, they have to get paid back. And also, their situation in which people buy some position. For example, one person can pay to access the position of general director of an organization. For example, la douane, the custom. It's a key position because there are money going back and forth. And it is said and that people in key position in the power are collecting cash every day, every week, every month. And then even the taxes we are paying are being used for people to buy the next elections. And then nothing to really invest in infrastructure, to invest in education. And also, although there are less illiterate people in Haiti now by percentage, but there are more uneducated people because they are producing this kind of elements in order to have a large range of the population to manipulate. Because if you are well educated, there are conditions you will not accept. And even there are politicians that congratulate uneducated people. It's like, although they continue to send the children to school or to universities in Europe, in the States, in Canada, but they are encouraging people, uneducated people. And then with poor education, and when I said that they are producing ignorance, there are so many bad schools, and now there are so many bad universities in Haiti. And they are compromising our future for the next generations come. I feel privileged because I could go to school. I'm still privileged because I am educated. But now, we are bluffing our population. there are so many bad schools. Okay, there are more people who can read, who can write their name. This is not education. The education ministry is poor. Don't talk about health. I I read in some paper a few months ago that the life expectancy for Haitian is around 60 years, but if you go to the general hospital in emergency, no physician to take care of you because the physicians are always in strike, or grave. No electricity. Our schools are bad. Our health structures and system very bad. And then we are kind of abandoned population. We are marginalized. And if you look at Port-au-Prince today, I remember when I came to Port-au-Prince for the first time at the beginning of the 70s. Port-au-Prince was a city. But, and especially after the earthquake, Port-au-Prince is no more the city capital of Haiti. The city capital is being moved to Delma, to Taba, to Pétionville. The downtown is being controlled by gangs, armed gangs. Oh, this is the new phenomenon. The gangs are replacing the state, and or maybe better said that they are very close. They are working together to terrify the population, because it is openly said that the politicians have some gangs they are controlling, but also many businessmen, they also have the gangs to protect their businesses. And then the quiet citizen is currently highly at risk. And every day, for weeks, I couldn't make the decision to leave Port-au-Prince, to go to Saint Raphael, to go to Gonaïve, because the roads are currently controlled by gangs. and the gangs are under control of our decision makers. And the security force, our police, is under equipped, although the gangs are so well equipped. And this is, I remember I've been in Miami at the beginning of June. And while in Miami, I heard that the country should be closed, there is a new word in our daily conversation, the country is locked. And then, it was said that the country would be locked by June 9th. And I left Miami to come back to Haiti the same day. And from June 9, I stayed home for over 10 days. I spent 3 weeks without leaving Port-au-Prince because you are not sure about what could happen. But finally, last week, I spent some days on the field. Okay, things are getting quieter this week, but nobody knows what will happen on the next one. And it is already said that on Saturday and Sunday, people will go to the street because last year on July 6th, there was this big protest against the increase of the price of the fuel price. And it is said that they will go back to the street to do what? I don't know. There is this kind of collusion between the power, the government, the parliament, and the gangs. And it's like this become normal, that gangs, parliament, they are together, they are on the same table. And we are currently in a situation in which there are many different categories of people. From the right to the left, asking for the president's resignation. So many different groups for so many different reasons. I attended a meeting last weekend, and I heard some people saying that, because I asked a question about what about the new perspectives? okay, it's true that our president is not the right man at the right place. But if for any reason he leaves this afternoon, who will replace him? And each group has its own solution. And this is one of our big diseases. We will be together when we are in disagreement with. But when it comes to build something, everyone has its own solution. And maybe I am in the country, for years I made this decision to stay because there are so many people who have left because of this instability, uncertainties. But I feel that I can help my country and the farmers, because I come from a farmer family. Those people on the earth, I'm still working, and I continue to believe that we can develop, we can access, we can work together for them to access a better living condition, that they could improve their well-being, and they can live at least like human beings, because most of them are not aware on what living as a human being would look like. And then we are educating ourselves, but we are also educating people to better understand that we are human beings, and as human beings, we have rights to live as human beings. In other words, I would also say that as sons of God. I will tell you a short story, and then I will wait for your questions, whether you have questions. I have been talking with a financial partner about well-being. What does well-being mean for us? And to what extent we take this into account in our work. One day I have been crossing a community, and in this community we have been initiating our work, and there was a series of reflection sessions. It was to raise people awareness about themselves, about their environment. And I was in a community, and people were leaving the meeting, the reflection session. And I asked a man about what was going on. And he said that, okay, tonight I will sleep in peace. And I asked, why? And he said, every night I used to keep my machete very close to the bed. But why? And he said, because I didn't feel confident with my close neighbors. I felt at risk. It was like I could be attacked by one or another. But through those reflection sessions, I discovered that my neighbors were my brothers and sisters. They didn't really hate me. And I figured out that I was in error. That I have been victim from some taboos, but I figure out, and I assume that we can improve our life if we stay in peace, if we help each other, if we are open to share who we are and what we have. And by tonight, I will sleep a lot better than ever, because of those lessons we have learned together. Improving the standard of living for those marginalized people could mean a lot of things. Access to food, access to education, access to hospital, but also living in peace, living in good relationship with other human beings. This is really not really new, but this is really unique, that we are not only working to feed people, but we are working to empower people. And there is a writer, a Brazilian writer, Paulo Freire. In his book, Pédagogie des opprimés, he talked.
Pedagogy of the oppressed.
Yes. He talked about education. And he stated both oppressors and oppressed people need to be educated because they are slaves of their beliefs. And we have to liberate ourselves. And then for me, and we take this into account in our work, well-being includes all of that. And we are working, we are fighting to improve people's well-being. I do not expect to be rich, but I'm working to get a fairly good life, a decent life. Okay, this is the word, to access a decent life. And this decent life, I can live it here at my house today. But I also can live this decent life in Ivoire, under a tree, at the river, in the mountain. When I am in the developed countries, when I look around me, when I see so many physical infrastructures, so many things to improve people's life, I do not think that in Haiti that we need all of that. There is no place, okay, I cannot say there is no place because there are places in Haiti that are not different from where you are in Washington, D.C. But I would like to mean that we do not necessarily need the American way of life to get a decent life. I was attending a meeting in New York. It was in 2011 or 2012, in which the former President Clinton said, it was in a meeting organized by the Clinton Global Initiative. And he said, if the world population or any human being on the planet should have the standard of living of the average Americans, we would need 3 planet Earths. Thank you.